I'm Brian DuPont, missions pastor at Calvary Chapel of the High Desert. It's our third trip to Haiti. We've gone a couple of times in for construction work and a little bit of outreach, but this time we were invited to go out into the community, accepted the challenge for the difficulties physically and spiritually of walking into the rural part of the country around Calvary Chapel of Caneille. We saw voodoo and witch doctors come to Christ. We saw 170 people get saved. We had no idea what God was going to do. Come and see the exciting things that He did. Good morning, Brian DuPont here in Haiti. We arrived yesterday. May not look like it this morning, but we are in Haiti. The fog has set in this morning. We're actually thankful that we have a little bit of fog today because I think it's going to be pretty sunny and pretty hot. Flew in from LA to Miami, Miami down to Port-au-Prince. Had about a 4-hour drive coming up from Port-au-Prince, but we arrived, everything's good. So here we are, here we go.
So this was my first trip to Haiti, definitely my first trip to a third world country. I've been on mission trips before, but Haiti was something definitely life-changing and a first-time experience for me.
Arriving at Port-au-Prince, being an ex-Marine, I do see things that I look at as potential dangers, and to me that's one of the crucial times of our trip. Seeing so many people around us, I get the sense of having to be alert and to thinking about the security of the team.
After the earthquake of 2010, a few months after, like many other churches, we had the opportunity to go in and be a part of some of the recovery. But where we were led to by the Lord is to Calvary Chapel of Caneille, which is not in the city. It's actually out in the country in the Central Plains part of Haiti. I was really looking forward to going out into the country, meeting more of the people.
I knew this trip was going to be different because there was going to be a lot more walking than the first trip, and I thought I was ready, but when I get there I was not ready. I had never walked so much in my life.
Our specific plans this time were to go out and do door-to-door evangelism, to go out into the countryside where we knew it was going to be hot, we knew it was going to be humid.
Well, the first day we went out, we were divided up into teams, and so I was put on Pastor Brian's team.
We head out for our first visit out into the community, and the assistant pastor is with us, Elosh, as our guide. We've got our mule packed with water and our lunch.
I was excited and extremely nervous at the same time, thinking, okay, this is it. We're going to be sharing the gospel, and He's prepared us, He's trained us. We had the evangel cubes to use.
And we had probably a couple of miles down the road, down the trail, and the first house that we go to, we split our teams off, and the first house that my team went to is a witch doctor. He called himself a priest, a voodoo priest. There was a woman there that was also said she was a priestess. She's also a witch doctor. But they allowed us to share the gospel. They were curious about what we had to say.
And so Pastor Brian is talking, and he's preaching the gospel to him and sharing.
And as I talked with this guy, there were a lot of people looking on and listening, and he told me that what he was doing, he knew was wrong, but he was doing it for the money. And so the Lord gave me the boldness as I'm sharing with him, talked about the illustration of the prostitute. He acknowledged that was wrong and what she did was wrong, and I told him what he was a spiritual prostitute.
Wow, it was boldness. I don't think I've ever heard God's word spoken with such authority from the Lord and with such boldness that he would even call the witch doctor a spiritual prostitute.
He fully understood what I was saying. The woman didn't like it very much, but that set the tone. Gave the rest of the team, I think, some boldness that would really come into place and other opportunities. And it really was the beginning of showing us what we were going to face and what God was going to do. Our ministry plans included not only going out for the door-to-door outreaches during the day, the evangelism of ministering to people, but we had plans for these services at the church every night. And I didn't find out there was the Hurricane Sandy that kind of interfered with some of our communication, and we had some miscommunication. I didn't find out until just the week before that they were planning on me doing the evening services for 4 nights during the week.
So the illustration, the story, involves someone who is scattering seed.
And so I was on the plane on the way over that the Lord gave me the concept, the idea of doing a harvest celebration. I taught on parables with the harvest and agricultural theme because we knew that people had missed out on a good physical harvest, but what we were praying for and expecting was a spiritual harvest. So we would invite them to come to the church every night. And the first night, we had about 125 people, which we were really surprised that on a Tuesday night that many people would come out to the church. And so we gave the gift of the beans and rice to our new guests and friends that we had invited, and more people came to Christ that night at the church as they were sharing the word, and then Pastor Bastia was wrapping it up in the Creole language. We saw people come forward in addition to the people that we saw get saved that day out in their homes. It was awesome.
On day 3, we had an opportunity to do a humanitarian outreach by handing out food that was purchased before. This was thousands of pounds of rice and beans and oil, the gallons of oil that we handed out so they could cook up their food.
So in addition to the plans to go out into the community and share the gospel, we were made aware of a real need at the time we were going to be there of food. They had had a bad year for harvests. It's an agricultural society. They grow what they eat. They can live off it, whatever they can trade for it.
Just want to let you guys know that we're passing out the rice and the beans that you guys provided to the Haitian people. The harvest here, their crops haven't done very well. We've had really poor rain in the spring, so right now they should be harvesting, and they're not harvesting anything. So the food that you've provided, the church, is helping the people here to survive a month or so longer, but they feel tremendously blessed. So we just want to thank you, and we praise everybody for helping us get here. And as you can see, the Lord's work is being done here in Caneille, and we just want to thank you in Jesus' name.
I can imagine not having a lot of food and walking away with that much rice and beans, how that was going to feed their family for the next whatever period of time that would last. That's what affected me, because now they have food to eat.
So as part of the preparations for going out and doing the home evangelism, we had prepared to hire 2 translators.
The only way to God is through faith in Jesus.
And again, in talking with the missionaries there and making plans to go in, I decided that we'd be most effective every day if we could take our team and divide it into 2.
This is my 2nd trip to Haiti, and Pastor Brian has asked me to lead the 2nd team that's going out today. We each shared in the use of an EvangeCube to share the gospel.
And Jesus makes the connection for us through Jesus.
One of the tools that I've used before that we chose to use this time and the team was prepared to use is the EvangeCube. And how I approached it is, we're here, we have a message from God, we talk to the people, a little bit of small talk, guests from the church, visiting the community. We have a message from God. Can we share that with you? And it's a message that comes from the Bible, but can I share with you the Bible story in pictures? And so it would start with the story of creation and man's separation from God, and then, God becoming a man and in the person of Jesus Christ, and then we go through the gospel and the death and the resurrection of Christ, and then it would come to that place of Jesus being the only way to the Father, and then that choice that has to be made to accept his free gift and go to heaven or hell. And it was amazing to see the reaction of people, seeing the pictures, hearing the story, and understanding oftentimes for the first time the gospel in a way that was very clear to them. And they would very frequently, house after house, day after day, they would frequently respond to the invitation to God's free gift of eternal life.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and we just got back from doing home visits today. I wanted to share with you what happened with me today. We got to go to some houses that I got to share with a group of children. We had shared the gospel earlier, and one of the neighbors had come over and she listened and she wanted to receive the Lord. So we went to go visit her house, and her children were there, and I got to share with them with the EvangeCube about the gospel. And many of the children wanted to receive Christ, so I was able to pray with them and lead them to the Lord.
As we're preparing for our last day of evangelism, we've been out 4 days. We've had a lot of great experiences. We saw the growth progression of what was taking place during the week. We had finished the 4 nights of the harvest celebration at the church, and so we had Elosh back, our guide, and he knew the area well. And I told him, Elosh, we want to go into the deepest part of where voodoo is. We want to go into voodoo land. And his response was like, really? Okay. And he knew right where to take us. And we went to an area that, in spite of the things that we had already seen, we saw a much greater concentration. We're out here walking the trails, beautiful countryside here, again continuing the home visits, and I just wanted to give a sample of some of the kind of things that we see typically along the way. These are some of the voodoo offerings, and sometimes they're a curse, sometimes they're a debt that's paid to a spirit. Here we have this basket with some fruits on it and a drink offering, and over here there's something with some milk or something like that, and there's actually a note there, and the note is a request to the spirits, and this one is very humorous. This is Anel. He is one of our translators that's been going out and helping us to share the gospel with the people. Anel, what can you tell us about what request is being made here to the voodoo spirits?
Yeah, this is the request is there is a request is concerning Jean-Louis.
So a person's name, Jean-Louis?
Yeah, Jean-Louis is not in the country.
Jean-Louis is out of the country.
Out of the country. But the person who makes this asked the bad spirit to make Jean-Louis, wherever he is, to call him often.
Oh, okay. So this is Voodoo Western Union. They are sending out the spiritual telegraph asking the spirits to contact Jean-Louis and have them give them a call. Now, do we know if Jean-Louis has a cell phone, or do the spirits have a cell phone, or how does that work?
I don't know, but he says it's not just a call, but calling often.
Often? Okay, so this is why it's a big offering here, because he wants frequent calls then. So is this common that they would make the sacrifice, pay the debt to the spirits for their request?
The request is, he asked it to, do you know what Baon is?
No.
Baon is the first person that they put in the cemetery.
Oh.
The first person, they call it Baon.
Like the first person of the family?
No. Whatever.
Or just the very first person that goes in the cemetery?
Yeah, they call him Baon.
So that's so we're talking about the spirit of the first person that goes in the cemetery.
Good.
Is there more power then for that first person?
Mm-hmm. They asked this. The question, the request is to Baon.
Okay. Okay.
The
so to the spirit of the first person who went to the cemetery to contact Jean-Louis and have him make frequent calls.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
There you have it.
Yes, well.
Family we went to, we noticed there was noises and activity coming from a room, and our guide told us that they're actually practicing a ritual. So we walked up like we normally do a house and asked if we could come into the property, and they invited us, so they came out, and I started to present the gospel to them. But I noticed this man looked familiar. He was actually a witch doctor that we met last year in a totally different area of town, and he happened to be here doing something for this family. So we preached the gospel to the family. I explained to them about Jesus Christ, and he again rejected Christ as his Savior. So we went ahead and just left and went to another house.
And one of the other gentlemen there, it was the son of one of the witch doctors that Eddie preached to last year, and he accepted the Lord. And his son told us that after accepting the Lord, he never came back to the home, that the Lord changed his heart so much that he knew that it was wrong to continue in voodoo and to continue in that way of life, that he got himself a new home and that he was not able to come back, that the Lord had just changed his life and that he was happy and free. And that he saw that that way of life was good, and that he was not ready to accept the Lord today, but through his dad's walk, he was able to see that that was the way to go.
Right. One particular thing that stands out is he understood what we were there for, and he even said, "I'm letting you in my property because I know God has sent you here." And I told him, "Do you remember we met you last year?" And he said, "Yes, that's why I'm more paying attention." So we left that house. On our fourth house, he happened to be there again talking to another family. And we prayed again with the other family. We shared the gospel. And this time he was really quiet. And at the end, him and the other family that was there decided to accept Christ.
The outpouring of God's Spirit began to be manifest and obvious to us from the first day on, from the things that we were encountering and the things that we were seeing. But from the people that are getting saved, I would hear the count. They're keeping track each day because they want to be able to do follow-up. I'm going, no way, again, more people getting saved every day, and then every night people getting saved. It was an awesome progression to be able to see what was happening and to begin to understand that we were there at a time that God had ordained. He was going to pour out His Spirit on this community. The church had been praying for their community. The youth had been going out in the community and had done some door-to-door, and they had about 50 people saved maybe about 2-3 months prior and preparing the way. So seeds had been planted, they had been watered, but God allowed us, a small group of us from Calvary Chapel of the High Desert, to be there at the time of harvest. It's Sunday, and we're in the church after service now. I've just had another exciting day. We had about 20 more people that received Christ inside, and then in the Sunday school where the team was, they've had a bunch of kids that have raised their hand to accept Christ. But right now in the church is all the people, actually not all the people, but all these people in the church right now are people that have received Christ this week as a part of our outreaches and have come today. So there are many others that haven't come today, but these are the ones that this week received Christ and have come to church today, in addition to the ones today that received Christ. So we just wanted to show you some of the people that have come to the Lord this week. Just when I thought that things were going to start winding down, we had such an exciting week and all these people get saved, doing church service on Sunday, more people getting saved, the Lord multiplying the food and all these people getting fed, had the opportunity to go up to the church radio station that we had been broadcasting from with those radios, and to be able to do an interview, to once again be able to share the gospel to the people of Haiti. The station there at Calvary Chapel of Caneille has about a 50-mile radius, and they estimate that there's up to 200,000 people that are potentially hearing at one time that station. So imagine again the gospel going out that broad as we're finishing up our last day. The Bible tells us very clearly that there is a spiritual adversary of the souls of men, that there's a warfare that the Christian is in. We saw firsthand that warfare. We saw how people are brought into bondage who worship these false spirits and appeal to them and sacrifice to them. I've seen it many times in the mission field, the effects of people being in that bondage, and I've seen the spiritual warfare. God fought battles mightily for us while we were there in that country. And one of the ways that the enemy has often attacked me on a trip or after a trip is through illness. And this particular time, we know that the enemy was very upset with what the power of God had done. The night that I got home, I began to get sick with a bacterial infection. Within a couple of days, I was in the hospital. Within a couple of days of that, I was in the intensive care unit. They told me I had kidney failure, liver failure, double pneumonia, a silent heart attack, all these things effective the illness that was in my body. But the scriptures tell us that if God be for us, who can be against us? That the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty in God for the pulling down of strongholds. And the prayers of the saints rallied together, and God did a miracle. And He healed me, and spent 10 days in the hospital, another 3 weeks recovering at home. But I'm honored to be here, to be able to share the testimony. And that's what I know the enemy wanted to take away, is the testimony of what God had did out there in that part of Haiti. And so we're just blessed to be able to share this story with you guys, and ask that you would continue to pray for the people of Haiti. And we look forward to the future opportunities that God will bring our way.